Greetings to everyone. This is Gabriel Hached. I'm going to introduce my presentation for the 13th Global Studies Conference. The title of this presentation is Globalization in the New World Order, the debate on emerging countries and the new global governance. As we are passing by specific scenario, let's say like this, a particular situation in the pandemic crisis, I'll try to make, when possible, interconnections between this thematic and the contemporary context. Okay, so I am associate professor, and also I have been in the last years a postdoctoral fellow in the University of Milano in the Department of International Relations. My field of study is international political economy, and let's go for the specific presentation. So, when I refer to emergent countries, I mean they could be many, there are many denominations for emergent countries. It could be middle income countries, rising powers, emerging countries. So there are many denominations for these, what also in the core periphery framework they call semi-periphery. So I'm using here emergent countries to refer to countries. I'm going to use BRICS as an example of them because they are the most institutionalized. But this could be also, let's say, regional powers, or let's say Mexico in Central America. It could be Turkey, or regional powers in where they have regional relevance, let's say like this. But I'm going to introduce what are the changes in the international system with the rising of these countries, because they, let's say, apply for a different insertion in the international scenario towards global governance, having more voice, having more participation. So let's see how this process goes. First of all, the starting point of this conversation is that there are asymmetries in the interstate system. These asymmetries, some people say developed and underdeveloped, some people say core periphery. So the states of the interstate systems, they don't have the same wealth and power insertion in the global arena. And since some years ago, but overall I would say since 2008 global financial crisis, we are watching for a kind of power reconfiguration on global scale. So what's happening? When multilateralism was instituted in Bretton Woods agreement after Second World War, it was proposed that all the countries would have voice, all the countries will have participation in the international scenery, but what we see is that this is not in equal portions to everyone, or in equal scale, let's say like this. So we can ask ourselves, what's the real role of multilateralism in the 21st century? Are all the countries represented by this? Are they, let's say, satisfied with their level of representation? Are they willing to change their representation in the international institutional framework? All these issues are related to this discussion here that we are talking by now. So the liberal order instituted in Bretton Woods, with the multilateral institutions, with supposedly participation of all the countries in the deliberations, when we put these into nowadays scenario, can we say we have signs of a collapsing system? This is a question we can make to begin, let's say, to warming up into the thematic. Well, Um, the countries in the international system, they all basically um, are competing towards accumulation of power and wealth. So in this competition for power and wealth, some had by historical backgrounds and by many reasons, they had have a kind of result that have been verified during years, and other countries that are considered in the semi-periphery and the periphery of the system, they are still under development process. So development issues, they hadn't been achieved in an equal level by all the countries. So this is still a platform for the 21st century. We have countries in a very high level of development and less unequal, I think we could say like this. And we have countries with huge problems of inequality, and they have hadn't solved until yet some basic infrastructure requested for a development process in the contemporary dynamics, economic dynamics. So what has been done, because globalization came with the purpose that countries would benefit for the process, is this happening? So which institutions are in charge of proposing development nowadays? Are the multilateral institutions contributing concretely to this path, so that every country has real possibility of pursuing a development process? So what we can say that we have a collapsing system based on these multilateral institutions, but we have also a redynamization after the 2008 crisis, and this redynamization is being proposed mostly by what is called emergent countries, and now I'm thinking on basically China, India, but also the BRICS and all the other considered emergent countries as well, as it was mentioned in the beginning of the presentation. So in order to put all these issues in the same arena, we should talk about what is called new global governance. So we have a kind of global governance running, and we have claims within these international institutions and the way global governance is being held. And let's see what is changing, or what we can say is new. So what we have is that some countries are asking, or they are willing to have more participation within the decision process within the global governance scope. Let's put it this way. So if we take the BRICS as emergent countries example, because they are the most institutionalized and they had founded the New Development Bank, so it's probably a good exemplification of this movement. What we can ask is if the system, international system, is showing like signs of exhaustion, or that the system is tending to collapse with the US leadership under question, are these countries having a new opportunity within the system? Is it possible to say this? This is the first part of the question. And if they are having a new opportunity, are they taking advantage of this to review its insertion in the international arena? So this is a second half of the debate. If they are having, after 2008, a new opportunity, because of the crisis and because hegemony of the US is under question, let's say like this. And if they are having, how are they dealing? Are they really taking advantage of this probably new opportunity? Let's pose it like this. So let's see how it goes. This refers to the Global South debate. It means the country of the South strengthening cooperation on political, economic, social, environment, cultural. So proposing collaboration on these issues and boosting cooperation between them instead of having just relations with the center or with the core, basically Europe and US, the strongest economies. Let's skip a bit because I am in the half of the presentation. So as I shared before, these studies refer to the international political economy field of research, and the idea is to incorporate a multidisciplinary perspective on it, using also international relations, political science elements, and crossing these framework to broader analysis, and using concepts as soft power, hard power, and smart power brought by the bibliography with Joseph Nye work. So let's go to development, and then I move towards final conclusion. Here I signed some points for reflection. If countries have equal insertion, what do we do if these emerging countries are having more participation in the international scenario and they are willing to have more expression within the global governance? So all of these changes, when we have also some evidence of US decline, not in all terms, but they are not the same as they were in the unipolar moment in the 90s, correct? So all this put together, do we have evidences of a new world order? If we do, does BRICS play an important role on the contemporary international scenery? And as they funded this institution, the New Development Bank, as a mechanism that they could apply for in order to finance development projects, is this something new in the terms that they don't put conditionalities, that the access to these funds is by different ways as with less constraints? So is possible to say that something is being done in the scope of global governance so that countries have more expression and access to move from policy takers to policy makers? It means to contribute to also policy design in international arena. Is it possible to say that we are watching this process? Is this process ongoing? So let me introduce 5 pillars of the BRICS long-term strategy of cooperation between them. So promoting cooperation for economic growth and development is the first. Political and economic governance is the second point of cooperation. So social justice, sustainable development, and quality of life. The fourth is peace and security. And the fifth issue is progress through sharing knowledge and innovation. That, let's say, the fifth is a bit more complex, considering we have to consider also private actors, and then cooperation. There is this state-led process, but when enters also profit and private actors, so the process acquire new features, let's say like these, are new, a bit of more of complexity to boost this cooperation. So These countries had done since 2009 an annual meeting. So if we can see here, as we can see here in the presentation, 2009 and 2010, it was called BRIC Summit because it was without South Africa. South Africa was attending just as observing partner, let's say like this. From 2011 on, South Africa was officially incorporated to the bloc, and then all the meetings are considered from that moment forward as a BRICS summit. It's not coincidence that the first summit was in 2009, is because these countries, in the context of 2008 crisis, they promoted a meeting between them to basically ask, what is the situation of our countries if economy crashes? Are we completely dependent of dollar standard? Can we move in another direction? Do we have any mechanism of protection of our economies, considering we have nowadays more expression than we had before? Can we claim for different insertion towards this? So all of these issues are related to this movement. The BRICS is not composed just by the main forum. The BRICS also they have other parallel forums that the main summit, trying to incorporate government, academia, and civil society issues within the deliberations of the bloc. So every country has a BRICS think tank council. Every country try to boost cooperation between via BRICS Academic Forum to stimulate academic cooperation. There is BRICS Business Council that promote development in commercial arena, BRICS Civil Forum to incorporate civil society claims, BRICS Digital to put all the information of these 5 countries together, and they have also BRICS Plus, that is an initiative to have partners that are not official members, but they are also observers or collaborators of these cooperation process, let's say like this. This is called BRICS Plus. I can share some information about New Development Bank fastly, because my time is getting over within the 20 minutes. So the bank was created on 2014, is in the 6th BRICS Summit, it was in Fortaleza, this one in Brazil. So they decided to create a multilateral development institution. The capital of this original capital of this bank is $100 billion, and they also set up a contingent reserve arrangement of more $100 billion. The first project that was financed by New Development Bank is entitled the Shanghai Lingang Distributed Solar Power Project, because the projects, they should involve both characteristics, sustainable development and also infrastructure catching up. So these are 2 characteristics that the projects that are financed by New Development Bank should have, let's say like this. And what is important here is that is the first time that a bank aspiring to be an institution of global scope is being built exclusively by emergent countries, without the participation of a development country. So this is really new. This is something different than what we have been watching within global governance scope. So I'm gonna try to go to some conclusions remarks. We can say that BRICS doesn't seem to be challenging the ongoing international order. They seems more to be offering an alternative for emerging countries outside the main multilateral framework. BRICS, they are let's say an acronym that involves more things than what Jim O'Neill acronym proposed in the original version, let's say like this. They have other common positions, they have a convergence process in the international arena, so it's a bit more complex than just economies that would have a bigger projection in the next decades. So let me do briefly the final remarks. What we can say that is a new initiative, that they are willing to have more insertion, that they are applying for a bigger expression in the international arena, but do we have evidences that this is going on? Or are we in a are we watching that a multipolar scenario is being designed instead of the unipolar under US leadership? So all of these issues are involved in the new global governance debate. So this is a book that my research group developed in these last years, involving regionalism and contemporary world order. This is the title, Perspectives from BRICS and Beyond. So if you have interest in this area, I would recommend this as an international project, because it's very updated, it's fresh. It was launched in December of 2019. So I would like to thank you, all of you, for listening to this presentation, and your feedback is welcome. So hope to see you all in the presential conference next year in Montreal, 2021. Thank you for everything, and hope we can see us soon. Bye bye.